Germinating farmers, common threads of success. So that was just a recap of the environmental things that Gabe talked about, just said in a different way. All right. If you want to start a farm, here are the 10 things that I'm seeing around the world that are common threads of success. Number 1, a commitment to working landscapes. Working landscapes. Now, what I mean by there is participatory environmentalism. I alluded to this a little bit ago. I'm going to take it one step further here. Look, I get the fact that much of our human civilizational history is pillaging the earth. I get that. And so people who are thinking and caring, we carry this big burden on our back. I get that big burden on our back of ancestral depredation on the earth. All right? I get that. I understand. But what's the proper response to that? Is the proper response to say, I better not touch the earth. I better not touch the environment, you know. It's too sacred to be desecrated by human breath. So we better, if we want to interact as humans with the environment with integrity here, the best way to do it is just put it in a park or a wilderness area or something to where, we don't dare touch it. What I call environmentalism by abandonment, okay? Well, if you're struggling in your marriage, is that the way you respond to a marriage intention? You go live on your end of the house, I'll live on my end of the house. That's where we're going to solve this problem. You're young, I love all these young people sitting down here. If you've got tension with your parents, is the way to solve it, I ain't talking to you. It's called childhood by abandonment. No, the way to resolve the tension is to talk it out, isn't it? Sit down and have a discussion. Here's where I'm coming from. Where are you coming from? And listen and shut up. See? That's the way you resolve these things. And so, when we look at this nature thing is all about us now jumping in with both feet and our big head, creative head, and our mechanical ability with, opposing thumbs. That's pretty cool. Monkeys can't do that. Whew. I'm glad they stopped evolving at that point. I don't believe in evolution anyway, so here we go. So what we've got here is we've got this tremendous blessing of mechanical and creative ability. How about we leverage that to touch nature with a healing touch and make working landscapes? That's what I love so much about permaculture. I'm a big fan of permaculture. And one of the reasons is because permaculture is not afraid to come in and look at a landscape and say, you know what? That water is running too easily down that ravine. We're going to come in with a dozer and we're going to dam that water up there high on that landscape to catch that runoff, let all the sediment drop there, and we're going to have gravity fed. We're going to hydrate this landscape with diesel fuel. See, it takes a really blind faith to assume that however the land is today is the right way. Now, it doesn't mean we don't go and pillage and conquistador tear it up willy-nilly. What it does mean is that we come with healing hands and come alongside this creation as a co-laborer, as a helper, as a salve, to redeem that broken landscape and atone for all the depredations that our ancestors have done. So successful farmers are not afraid to adjust the landscape and really get in there and work with the landscape to develop, to bury a water line, to develop a spring, to put in a pond, to hydrate the landscape, put in a rain barrel, build a strategic piece of infrastructure, to make the landscape work. Number two, eclectic awareness. Eclectic awareness. You want to be a farmer? Read widely. I'm a big proponent of the Jeffersonian intellectual agrarian. Our culture has pigeonholed farmers as the intellectually and business challenged sector of society. I mean, I remember like yesterday in 1978, I was a junior in high school and went for the mandatory interview with the high school guidance counselor to look over my senior year choice of subjects. And she asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I wanted to be a farmer. Well, I thought she just about went into apoplectic seizures. What? Throw all those brains away? Throw away all that talent? What's the matter with you? You know, because farming is for those people, you know, brown people, D students.
Oh, dumb, snuff-dipping, redneck, hillbilly, trip over the transmission in the backyard, can't speak one word ahead of another, ungrammatical, talking strawhead. That's what farming is supposed to be.
I played the lead in all the school plays, right? And who would have thought that I'd be able to use it as a farmer? I use it every day. Marketing's all about storytelling, right? So anyway, the point is, I challenge you as a farmer, read widely, read the Wall Street Journal, read business books. I mean, I've got a running thing. I got business books, history books. Look, we farmers, we have the most sacred, noble vocation on earth. And we should stand proudly toe-to-toe with any Forbes CEO on the planet. Okay? And we're not going to get that status until we think that of ourselves. And if we think that we're farmers because, well, we just couldn't compete in that world, well, that's exactly what we're going to be. You know what? Go to farmer's market in a suit. You wouldn't believe how many TV interviews I've done in New York. They want me to come in with a bib overalls and a straw hat, you know, and chewing a piece of lignified chicory weed. It can't be real weed. It's got to be chicory weed. They say, you know, where's your farm clothes? I say, no, today I'm in the city. I'm on your turf. We're equals. And not until we farmers bolster our own psyche and our own intellectual and educational capacity are we going to get that kind of respect. Otherwise, we're going to continue to be condescended to and treated like, you know, the little colonial peasants. Stay in your little place and, you know, that's it. Self-respect, all right? Price your stuff the way it's supposed to be priced, not what you would buy, but price it in a respectful way. I had a guy one time, I loved his answer at farmer's market. People would ask him, you know, why are your eggs so expensive? And he'd just smile and say, that's what it cost me to grow them. I like that. It's a good answer because they don't have a clue what it costs. Stops the argument, and it creates a place of respect and self-awareness and self-actualization. Number three, thread of success, a can-do entrepreneurial spirit. A can-do entrepreneurial spirit. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. I get lots of phone calls, lots of emails. People, you know, hear me or see what I've done, you know. And you start down this phone call, and, well, how do you do this? You explain it. He says, well, that won't work here. And he asks you another question, and you explain it. And he says, well, that won't work here. And he asks you another question, and you explain it, the answer, and he says, well, that won't work here. By the time about the third one goes, you scream into the phone, you're right, it won't work there, bye. You know, the fact is, if you don't think it'll work there, it won't. And the biggest temptation in a conference like this, we've had wonderful breakout sessions. Good night, Gabe has been stellar. I mean, we've got all this great stuff here, information going on. I can tell you, because I'm guilty of it too, my biggest temptation is to say, well, he's on flat ground. Or, for me, it's, he's in Virginia, where it stays a balmy 70 degrees every day, and, on Christmas Day, all the guys just, run around in tank tops and eating goober peas on the side of the road, The fact is that every one of us is a victim. We're tempted to assume that the other person's success is some sort of unfair, unattainable thing. Oh, they live in a better part of the country. They live in a place where people actually want to spend money on good food. Not like around here.
Grass finished? Grass finished, what's that?
The fact is that on this earth, there is no paradise. And every single place has its asset and its liability. And that person's success didn't come, you can make up anything. They had better parents. They, married a better spouse. They've got a tractor that runs, mine won't. I mean, there's a million things. When I talk to schools, I say, look, your D is not because you're dumb. If you will stop the pizza party and the drinking and pull the earplugs out of your ears and spend all that time studying, you'll make an A. Quit being a victim. All right? So the people who succeed actually are not smarter than the ones who don't. They just stay with it longer till they go through the learning curve, right? The diffusion of innovation, that business principle, the learning curve, that slow of despond that comes at, year 3, 4, 5, and right at that bottom, but it's darkest right before the dawn. And right when you're having that final aha epiphanal moment where, okay, we're going to break through now, you quit. See? The only difference between a success and a failure is that the success got up one more time. Because everybody who's been successful, what did Gabe say this morning? He said, I love that. That's another great one. If we don't have something that fails this year, we haven't been innovative. I love it. It's the way I feel. I mean, you fail. That's how you learn. Think about Thomas Edison, the light bulb. I think it was the light bulb. He had so many inventions, it's hard to remember, but just don't worry about don't quibble with the facts. Just listen to the principle. His team came in on the 150th experiment for the light bulb, and said, and they were despondent. Oh, did we tell him? What's he going to say? We tell him it didn't work. They finally mustered up the courage to walk into his office and tell him, well, Mr. Edison, this didn't work either. He jumped up from the desk, clapped them all on the back, and said, "Great, good for you. Now we're one more step closer than finding the one that does work." That's the spirit, see? And that is consistent in successful startup farms. And I would say also, don't surround yourself with negative people. Man, life is too short to surround yourself with negative people. And you know what the most negative people are going to be? Your neighbors. No, really? Listen, if you have the audacity to go to your neighbor and tell him your lunatic, harebrained idea, and your neighbor said, well, that's a great idea. Don't do it, it won't work. If he says to you, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard, well, what planet are you on? Do it. That's what'll work. See? I mean, my neighbors call me a bioterrorist. Typhoid Mary. They really believe that my unvaccinated chickens are going to go out and commiserate with an indigo bunting and a red-winged blackbird, and then those wild birds are going to fly over to the Tyson Science environmentally controlled chicken house and make all those chickens sick, and the poor children in Bangladesh are going to starve to death because my outdoor chicken rubbed a beak with an indigo bunting. I mean, they really, I'm not making this, you can't make this up. So my support group is our customers. They're the ones that come out and tweak the cheeks of our kids and say, man, we so appreciate your family. I'm so glad you're a farmer. And they have lifted up the kids. They've lifted up our family. We've had a bad year, you know. We don't make a big deal about it, but you know, they're around. They're watching. They're hearing things, you know. And I've had them shove $100 bills in my pocket, you know. We need you to stay in business. Folks, that's support. And when you're out there every day, you know, carrying those buckets, greasing that machine, you know, out there on a cold day trying to get the grease out of a bearing and get it back in the shaft or whatever, you know. It gets kind of lonely out there sometimes. Or you failed on another experiment, or you didn't get the chickens in time and the cold freeze came and half of them died, or, you know, whatever. It gets lonely out there. But we are lifted up on the wings of our loyal cheerleader customers. So find your tribe. Today, this is a tribe. Unless there's a Monsanto plant, you can leave. All right. Number 4. Number 4, live frugally. Live frugally. You know what? I hate to tell you this, but you can't have it all. I don't know how many young families come up to me and ask me, look, I've got this, you know, this 3-year-old and this 7-year-old and this, you know, 9-year-old, and how do you get them to love the farm and love doing chores and pulling weeds in the beans and doing all this, and make sure that they're also in the Nutcracker Suite, the Little League football game, the soccer league, and the, are you with me? You know what the answer is? You can't do it all. You can't. And you know what? It won't deprive those kids at all, keeping them out of the soccer league so they can go build dams in the creek. Trust me. I've got 3 grandchildren right now, 11, 9, and 6. They've got a fort complex. A fort complex that they literally spend, they're also homeschooled. That means they're neglected terribly. They spend hours a day down there contriving Swiss Family Robinson things, you know. And if you go and ask them about it, they can literally talk to you for 3 hours without taking a breath about the dragons they've slayed, the maidens they've rescued, the bad guys they've, you know, killed coming over that hill, and he stepped on that little piece of wood there. It looks like a piece of wood, but it's really not. It's really one of those Indiana Jones depressing things. You know, he stepped in that and it swallowed him up there, an old buffalo hole. Buffalo, you know, they used to be through here, and he impaled himself on a coyote rib in the bottom. I mean, they can just go on all day. It's under their imaginations. It's just crazy. Okay? In my opinion, that's life. Not sitting there punching somebody else's creativity and just being a minion, a dependent on somebody else's fantasies. Create your own fantasies. See? Create that imagination, because ultimately the secret to our businesses is actually not more money, not more resources, not more people. Our weak link is always constipation of imagination. That's our weak link. So, live frugally. Enjoy the farming lifestyle. If you want to live on the farm, be on the farm. Don't sit there and complain, boy, I wish we could have takeout pizza today, but you know, they won't drive 100 miles out here. No. Love the fact that you can go out and look up into a dark sky and in 10 minutes see more shooting stars than any New Yorker ever sees in a lifetime. Revel in that. Enjoy that. Live in a teepee if you need to. Eat, drink, and breathe farming. Stay home. Enjoy the simple life and appreciate the fact that you're not sending a bunch of taxes to the stupid payments that the government does. Just defund the government by not making any money so you don't pay any taxes. Number 5. Okay, number 5. We're marching right on through here. Assemble a team. The young people, generally young people who are successful at launching their farms, assemble a team early. When people ask me if you did something different, what would you do? And I would say, I fell into the same trap of 99% of all farmers, that I have to do it all myself. And we farmers, we're a stubborn lot. We're generally a bunch of hermit curmudgeons. I don't want any people around here. What do you think me and Matilda came out here for? Most farmers are farmers because they don't like people. They're social introverts. I don't want anybody around here. And so farmers typically spend all day doing tasks that they don't like or not good at. I guarantee everybody sitting in here, there's something that you can think of that you might have to do tomorrow that you don't want to do. Yeah, freeze your what? Okay. There are things that you don't want to do. Okay? But did you know that there are people out there who, if you said what you didn't like to do, maybe it's accounting work, maybe it's calling a bureaucrat, maybe it's, fixing the engine on the tractor or whatever, okay? Whatever you don't like to do, whatever you really don't want to do that day, you know that there is somebody out there, might even be in your own family, who can't wait to get out of bed in the morning and do that thing. So, what I've found is that the earlier you assemble a team, the better off you are. Now, I don't have time today to go into all the details of how to assemble a team and create what I call individual fiefdoms and self-actualization and all that. I'm not talking about employees. I'm talking about commission-based, bonus-based, shared risk team players. That's very different than employees, okay? Very different. And if you want more information on that, you can get my book, Fields of Farmers. It's my latest book, and it's all about this whole multi-generational fiefdom, self-actualization, partnership, team building stuff. It's pretty cool. And we've enjoyed it a lot on our place, and it's completely changed the business. So assemble a team, be ready to collaborate. Number six, direct market. Almost all of them, direct market. Notice I didn't say local market. I said direct market. Because, if you're 100 miles away from a Coke machine, direct marketing gets a little bit interesting. So you might have to team up with a food hub, a distributor. Maybe you team up with a savvy, internet person, okay? That can set up an internet marketing deal, or maybe you collaborate with some other aggregator or whatever. But the point is to try to take your product to a brand recognized place where you get paid for craftsmanship, okay, by value adding your product. So you're not just selling a commodity into a non-differentiated, nameless, faceless thing, but rather you're actually value adding it. When we went to when we started doing our cut-ups on our chickens, we didn't want to do boneless, skinless breast. I mean, you get to where you just don't want to go cut it up yourself. This is something that you can learn. I mean, 40 years ago, when we started doing this, you couldn't go to the supermarket and buy a boneless, skinless breast. I'll be very sexist here. All of our customers are women. You realize that, don't you? 95% of all food decisions are made by women. All right. So all of our in those days, women, it was part of their genetic program to be born, knowing how to cut up a chicken. I mean, they just knew how to do it. You want boneless, skinless breast, you go to the store, you get a whole chicken, and then you put the leftovers in the, chicken and dumplings and stock pot and whatever, right? You make casseroles, things like that. Well, today, half of our customers don't even know a chicken has bones. I mean, they think there's these, boneless, skinless breasts out here, And we go out and pick them up, kind of like potatoes, And so as we watched the culinary participatory intelligence of our customers drop over the decades, we realized, man, we're really, this is getting hard. Well, I would buy, $500 of chicken breasts a year if you do them. So we started doing them. And the first year we did it, we made an extra $20,000 on chicken without selling another chicken, without raising another chicken. Just by value adding and taking that whole chicken from $14 to $30 as a parts and pieces, okay? The power of value adding, all right? That's what's being done. Number 7, these farmers do gross margin analysis. Gross margin analysis. And I can give a plug here for the Ranching for Profit schools, Dave Pratt. I'm sure some of you are familiar with what Ranching for Profit does. And I just couldn't say enough about the financial element of that, of actually categorizing your accounting so you keep up with your different enterprises, so you know what the margins are. What we need to be able to do is establish opportunity cost, this, or this, which is going to give me the best return, and start putting our emphasis on the things that give us a return. I'm not talking about having a box here of invoices that we just put the stuff in all year, and at the end of the year we take it to the accountant and say, figure this out. That is not gross margin analysis. Okay? Our P&L statement, our monthly P&L report is 8 pages. Everything is categorized. We've got like 200 categories. Why? So we can tease out, are the broilers making money or losing money? Are the eggs making money or losing money? Are the beef cows making money or losing money? And in the winter, we take all these reports and we go through them and we run gross margin analysis, and we find out, we're losing here, we're making here, this is carrying the business, this needs some help. And sometimes we abandon entire enterprises. It just... we've tried it 3 years and it doesn't work. And sometimes, giving up or retreat is the better part of valor sometimes. But establishing those actual financial weak links are very, very important. What if we did this, or this? You see, most farmers, 85% of all the decisions farmers make are based on the advice of a salesman. Well, how do you know between this option, this option, this option, or this option, which is best? Where do you know whether to put your time and money in biochar versus fish emulsion versus no-till versus, a salad bar cover crop program versus not planting anything and just doing a perennial grass management, okay? I mean, all of those things could be the weak link. But how do we know if we don't do the figures? Number 8, multi-enterprise. All these successful farms are enjoying multi-enterprises. They're not single enterprises. They're stackable. When it comes to marketing, if there's one thing that I tell people who are direct marketing, if there's one foundation principle in my view, and one of the keys to our success, it is this. It is far easier to find 100 customers who will spend $1,000 with you than 1,000 customers who will spend $100 with you. One more time. It's a lot easier to find 100 customers who will spend $1,000 with you than 1,000 customers who will spend $100. See, the hard part in marketing is getting the customer. I don't care whether your venue is a farmer's market stand, a roadside stand, a farm table, or a website over the internet. Whatever your venue is, the hard part is getting somebody to darken that door and look into that and say, ooh, I think I'll buy that. All right? That's the hard part. And you never make money on the first sale. Never. Because the marketing cost always outweighs the margin on the first sale. You only make money if the person buys again. All right? And the person who buys, who is satisfied, the first thing they ask after they're satisfied is, well, what else do you have? Do you have chicken? Do you have grapevine wreaths? Do you have soap? Do you have pigs? Do you have tomatoes? You know, I mean, they'll buy anything. The hard part is getting the customer. So once you have 100 customers, what you're trying to do is take those 100 customers that are buying one thing and turn them into customers to buy everything. Now, you know what? That doesn't mean you have to grow it. Sometimes the most successful young farmers I know are people who come in with a pastured livestock enterprise and team up with a vegetable CSA. The vegetable CSA has already vetted all these families that are ready to buy into our integrity food beliefs, right? They buy into the why, all right? They just want more stuff. Woo, okay, we'll put more stuff on there, okay? I mean, it's like the apple juice that we sell. You know, there's an orchard up about 50 miles from us. We've bought apple juice from it, you know, all my life. It's one of the oldest biological apple orchards in the country. A.P. Thompson was featured as a plowboy interview in Mother Earth News in like 1974, okay? Well, he died and the orchard went to his son, and John. John is arguably a better orchardist, but he's not like his dad. He's not an entrepreneur. His dad was, you know, gregarious schmoozer, storyteller, you know, one of these guys. He could sell a hat rack to a moose, right? And the son, John, is arguably a better orchardist, but John can't get no help. Weather's going to be bad tomorrow. Deer are eating the apple trees, you know. And we watched the business start to head down. So I went to John. I said, John, would you mind if we offered your apple juice to our customers? He said, oh, I would love it. Well, we're now selling $50,000 of his apple juice. All we did was add the line on our website. Boom, done. I mean, and this apple juice, I mean, you know, it's cold pressed apple juice with an inch of sediment in the bottom of the jug. I mean, it is apple juice. And in January, I mean, you can shake that thing up and drink 2 glasses before you think about it, and suddenly, I just ate 6 apples, you know, and you spend 24 hours kind of, you know, working through it. That happens. Number 9. Number 9, I love this one. Successful young farmers are willing to put attention on time and motion studies. Time and motion studies. About 10 years ago, McDonald's was looking at possibly offering a grass-finished hamburger. And so their executives called their attorney in Washington, D.C. You know, he's on probably a $300,000 retainer, right? And I mean, he used to be a legislative aide for senator, and you know, that's the way this works. And they sent him down to the farm to talk to me about this before they came to see if I would, you know, bite their heads off if I was a, you know, congenial person to somebody like McDonald's. And so they sent him down, and then we had a great time. We walked around, and one of the things he told me, he said McDonald's has a test kitchen at their headquarters where all of the furniture is on wheels. All right, the counters, the trash cans, the cookers, the deep fat fryer, the, you know, everything. All the infrastructure is on wheels, and every day the team comes in there and tweaks the positioning of these things. They might move it a half an inch, 2 inches. They might take something that has a little curve in it and line that furniture up in a straight line. They might put it in a circle. They might move it from over. All right, you with me? And he said that if they can figure out how to shave half of a second off of a procedure, it's worth $10 million. That, folks, is what you call time and motion studies. We farmers, I know, I are one, okay? And we farmers, we sometimes think we're really, you know, we might not read anything, we might not write anything. We know that we're important, because if it wasn't for farmers, the world wouldn't eat. We got no farmers, no food, right? Stickers on our ramshackle jalopy trucks. And we have this, we might think we're the dumbest guy in the class, that's why we're farming, but we got enough intelligence to understand I'm an important person in this culture, and we feed on that, and we think we're special business people who deserve special dispensations and recognition from the government with, crop insurance and all sorts of special subsidies and concessions from the town and the community and our neighbors, that we deserve to stink up the neighborhood even though, nobody can come out of their house. So we pass right to farm laws. We don't have right to sell paint laws. We don't have right to kill brick laws, but we got right to farm laws, basically right to stink up the neighborhood laws. Because we're special. We're farmers. And if I don't exist, you starve to death. See, I'm special. And we get this notion then that we somehow rise above basic business criteria. And I'm here to tell you that the farmers that are successful are the ones that are willing to go out with a stopwatch and time and make benchmarks and rearrange their schedule and go loaded and come loaded and look at their schedule in a day. If I go here, and eliminate any backtrack steps. And we've got it down to where we have a 5-page standard operating procedure sheet, SOP, 5